What's going on in
This
Portland?
won't be sponsored by Adidas, that's for sure.
More importantly, yeah. Well, the guy I started with is a pretty prominent Adidas guy too, so at least made up for it with that. What's going on in Portland?
Yeah. There's an interesting ownership situation in Portland where Jody Allen, I'm just acknowledging this, that Jody Allen, Adam Silver has said that Jody Allen must sell the team at some point to satisfy the will of her brother, Paul, who passed away several years ago. But we don't know when she's selling it. And that came to light recently. And Phil Knight of Nike, one of Nike's founders, he made a bid to buy it. And so it's sort of a weird situation that they are in right now. But this offseason, they spent some money. Damian Lillard signed a 2-year extension for $122 million, so $60 million a year. And he's locked up through 27. And I can't remember the 2 years that he extended were 25, 26 and 26, 27 for 58.5 and 63.3 million.
And I think that's 35 and 36 in terms of his age in those years.
Yeah, he's 31. He only played 29 games last year.
I think he just turned 32.
Oh, he turned 32.
Mm-hmm.
Now that $63.3 million season in 26-27 is a player option. What's
I'll opt in for.
What do we think?
I would think he's going to opt in there.
They signed Anthony Simons to an extension, and I was afraid that they were going to go crazy here because of some of the stuff that they were saying about Anthony. He had put up huge numbers after Dame, and I like him as a player. Don't get me wrong. I just, he was just sort of putting up numbers on a team that was kind of trying to lose. They got him for $100 million over 4 years was the extension. They traded for Jeremy Grant, a deal that what could cost them 1 first-round pick was the central part of the trade.
Ended up being the Bucks pick in 25 because they didn't make the playoffs, right? Or no, it was top. It was protected in some form, wasn't it?
They traded for him.
It was the Bucks pick.
I think the Pistons already traded it.
No, it was the Pelicans. It was either the Pelicans pick or the Bucks pick, and the Pelicans made the playoffs. That was what the trade was, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they made the trade in the offseason.
The Pelicans pick was already decided. The Pelicans pick, by the way, they're not going to end up getting a first rounder out of the CJ McCollum deal because the Pelicans made the playoffs.
Right.
That was what I was thinking of. Right. That's right.
Right.
They still owe a pick to a lottery protected pick to Chicago from the Larry Nance deal, who he ended up being rerouted to New Orleans in that deal. They paid Nurkic a nice little contract. I think it was 4 years, $70 million this year.
Yes, they're tanking Yusuf Nurkic.
Their epic tank job only produced the number 7 overall pick. They got Shaedon Sharp, who, if you've seen him play, you're a big fan of Canadian high school basketball.
Well, he's
right. He's one of the biggest mysteries in the draft. He didn't play for the last couple of years, and it looked like it in summer league. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Well, he played 4 minutes in summer league and then hurt his shoulder and then was out for the rest of summer league.
That's right. He only played one game. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so the Blazers, they've got some pieces. Sharp, Anthony Simons. You can throw Keon Johnson in there. They got some.
Tell you who else you could throw in there. Tell you else you can throw in there too is Jabari Walker, son of Samaki Walker, who our guy Mike Schmitz drafted with basically the last pick of the second round in this year's draft, and who was a stud at summer league. Looked pretty good.
Okay. So they've got some pieces for the future, but they're basically a team that's in win now mode. And the ceiling's not very high. They're an expensive team in win now mode who they're a play-in team, but I don't see any realistic path for them to get out of the first round.
They also signed Gary Payton this offseason away from the Warriors.
And,
We're
and
they have
talking
a
about
pretty-
the offseason moves.
They have a pretty good team, but there's sort of to your point, McMahon, like we talked about Sacramento recently for this segment, and they're sort of a supersized version of Sacramento, right? Where
Mhm.
like, this is to me, a significantly better team than the Kings. That's why I think the Kings are sort of in their own tier and 11th in the West. Like they're just,
right.
they're going to need help to get into the play-in. Even though they made some okay moves this summer. But to your point, like you look at Portland and they're right in the mix to me with the Lakers and maybe New Orleans, like kind of in the 8 to 10-ish range.
Yeah, somewhere 7 to 10
in the
somewhere that
West.
playing range.
But to your point, like Shaedon Sharpe is going to have to become a monster player.
Mhm.
Like that's their one ascendant piece. And he could be the best player in the draft. Like he is a monster toolsy prospect. Like it could work out, but you're talking about a guy that's probably going to need some time at minimum if he's going to become a really good player. And your best player is already in his early 30s, is a small guard, is coming off abdominal surgery after not looking great at times last year before the surgery. Now, he says that's fixed a problem that's been there for a while. And we all love watching Dame play. Certainly expect Dame to still be really good. But, you know, that's sort of a tough line to walk where you've got a team that's built to be pretty good. But if your ceiling is maybe getting out of the play-in, you know, you're just going to be kind of stuck in purgatory for a while.
You know, I think what they found out was that the Dame CJ as the core of your team that had a ceiling on it. And their ceiling was they got to the Western Conference Finals once and they got swept. You know, other than that, they were pretty much first round fodder almost every other year. And in a few of those years, they were swept in the first round.
Yep.
And basically, this team's kind of signed. You know, CJ's out, Anthony's in, and I don't see just a whole lot of difference. And you know, so much of the discussion around the Blazers over the last 2 or 3 years has been, you know, is Dame going to stay? Should Dame stay? Should they blow it up? Well, that has been decided. Dame wants to spend his whole career there. They, you know, supermaxed him as far out as they could. Hey, if he's happy spending his entire career in Portland on teams that are somewhere between pretty good and very good, but not legitimate contenders, okay. Listen, a guy, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to make almost $500 million, $1 billion in just an NBA salary. Like
Franchise
I don't blame the
icon,
guy.
best player in the history of the franchise.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool things about that.
Yeah, like you know, there's plenty of NBA legends who don't have rings. I just think Dame is destined to be one of those guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just have a hard time looking at the Blazers and seeing upside, real significant upside for the rest of his career.
So I'm not going to pay too much attention to their offense last year because Dame only played 29 games, and also they were tanking at the end. They were a bottom 4 offensive team, but they ranked second to last in defense. And so, you know, and Chauncey Billups, we don't know a whole lot about him as a coach yet, but Chauncey Billups was a first-class defender his entire career.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would think that a Chauncey Billups team would be a good defensive team. They were a horrible defensive team. And a lot of that had to do with personnel. So, okay, they've invested, you know, $600 million in Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons, 2 small guards. So that's a problem. So what do? Okay, they go out and get Jeremy Grant, who, when he's healthy and playing well, is a plus defender, can defend multiple positions. They signed Gary Payton. Again, a good defender, can defend multiple positions on the perimeter. So they invested in improving defensively. And if the Blazers
Josh Hart's
are going,
a defensive improvement.
True, they traded for Josh Hart. They could have cut Josh Hart. They had the option. He had a non-guaranteed contract. They did not do that. So Josh Hart is there as well. So they've invested in Josh Hart's pretty much the core piece that they got back for CJ McCollum at this point, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So they used some of the assets to get Jeremy Grant. You know, if Joe Cronin, their general manager, was here, he'd say, well, we also traded for Jeremy Grant. So that's just to be fair. But the only chance this team has of taking a step forward and, you know, outfoxing the teams that were back there with them that are trying to ascend, like the Lakers, like the Kings, is that they have to get much better on defense. I don't think that they're equipped to be a top 10 defensive team, although, I guess stranger things have happened, but they can't be 29th again, because if they're 29th again, they're going to be right back in the lottery next year.
No question. And the other guy that we haven't mentioned, who I'm really interested to watch this year, is Nasir Little. He really started to come on last year during the middle of the season. Then he had a shoulder injury, missed a big chunk of the year. But as a big athletic wing, you have him and Jeremy Grant playing the 2 forward spots. Like you mentioned, Brian, you can have Gary Payton come in and replace either CJ or either Dame or Anthony Simons, and have another plus defender out there with either Dame or Simons handling the ball. Like that's at least the foundation. Plus you have Hart coming off the bench. That's at least the foundation of a team that has the ability to play both ways, in at least a good a fashion as the teams with Dame and CJ that, were legitimate teams that could get to the second round of the playoffs. It did, through a bit of a fluky path, but still got to one conference finals, like had some playoff success. My question is, I think CJ McCollum, while maybe a little bit overrated over the course of his career, is a really good player. And I'm not sure Anthony Simons is going to be CJ McCollum. And they have invested a ton of money in him to be really a co-star with Dame. And like you said, he's put up some numbers in losing situations, but I'm not convinced that he's going to walk in and be the kind of player they need to really carry them at the other end of the court as well.
No, and I think they're a competitive team. I just think they're a third tier team. They're a play-in type of team. And it's funny because Dame has had some of the best playoff moments of any active player. I mean, you talk about the bye-bye shot to basically, put a fork in the Thunder in that era of the Thunder.
Who's had better playoff moments than Dame, like collectively?
I mean, certainly, you can
Steph
point
Curry.
to, Steph Curry, LeBron, like the guys who've won multiple, Kyrie Irving hitting that shot in Game 7.
No, I mean, if you're saying
I'm talking about like having 3 or 4, like obviously like one, Giannis's Game 6 of the finals supersedes it, but
the
guys
had
had 3 or 4 incredibly memorable moments.
Well, and the 2 series ending walk-off, buzzer-beating, goodbye 3-point shots, they're iconic moments. But that's also 2 of the 4 playoff series that he's won in his career. There's only been 3 years in his career that he's gotten out of the first round. He's a decade in now. And I don't know if he's getting out of the first round again. It's like we keep
maybe they
this.
can win the in-season tournament.
Yeah, possible. Hey, maybe they can. Maybe they can celebrate a play-in championship like Dame's old pal Pat Bev did in Minnesota. I don't know.
I am, obviously the in-season tournament again was a very minor part of this press conference that Adam Silver gave this week. Clearly, the in-season tournament is going to happen. It's probably going to come in the CBA this fall because they have to come to an agreement with the players on it. You have to collectively bargain it. The Blazers are the kind of team, though, that I do think that concept is built for. Like a team that's trying to win, that in the NBA, like just doesn't have a path to winning a championship. Like Damian Lillard has no path to win a championship in Portland. But like if you win this in-season tournament, down the road, potentially that is something that is seen as a accomplishment that you put on the ledger at the end of your career. You won 4 Bill Russell Cups or whatever they decide to call this thing. Like I am curious to see kind of what the evolution of that thing is. Cause like, if you look at European soccer, which is what Adam Silver looks to compare this thing to, there are teams in these leagues that will not play, they'll pull back in a certain cup because they're trying to either win their league or win in the Champions League or win something else. So they'll say, we're going to play younger guys, or maybe going to give guys a night off here. And if we lose, we lose. Like, I will be curious to see sort of how teams adapt to this thing and try to attack it, because it could be something that is seen as a really cool thing down the road.
The thing about European soccer is that there is the reward for those other competitions is to win the competition itself. What you want is to say we held the trophy this year. Right. What we don't know about the in-season tournament is what the reward incentive is going to be. maybe it's going to be money, and okay, fine. You think Dame is going to get excited about money? He's got 500 million.
He
So
seems to be pretty excited about money consistently.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, what can you give that's not outrageous? Like you can't give a guaranteed playoff berth, I don't think. But what can you give that matters? And I'm sure they've had a lot of brainstorming sessions, but that would be interesting. That'll be interesting. We'll be talking about that more in the future. So, all right. Well, the Blazers will be a team that what they deem as a successful season will be different than the rest, and they're playing in a conference where they're going to have to bring it just about every night. And so, again, like I said this about several teams this year, they could.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.